Going out and shooting street photography for me is somewhat of a meditative experience. I find it allows me to forget distractions of everyday life and just focus on the world around me. I get into somewhat of the flow state, really in tune with what is going on. And I think it's at this time that you capture really wonderful images, seeing the world differently, trying to see potential and that sometimes predict images or moments before they happen, or at other times just get lucky. In the majority of my work, I'm looking for that human connection, the small gestures and the sheer spontaneity of everyday life. I particularly love this image of this couple heading home at the end of the day. I noticed them meeting, I imagine, from finishing work to head home together. And these are the type of moments I look for when I'm out on the street. But while out shooting my last video for the original X100, I took this image. This restaurant window bathed in sunlight, giving these lovely geometric shadows whilst reflecting the world outside. I've come back to this image many times over, and I think what I like about it is this feeling that it evokes, that it sort of lives outside of time. But the overall thing that resonates with me, and I think the reason I've come back to this image time and time again, is that it allowed me to see the street differently, seeing things from a different perspective. So to explore this further, I decided to grab my X100V and go out and shoot with this new insight, reframing my perspective on the street in search of street photography beyond the human connection. Welcome to Life, Work and Dreams. This is Shape of the City. To begin with, I found finding these photographs a slightly daunting task. Going out with intention is not my usual approach. I like to find my shots organically, but once I got into a flow, I started to instinctively see opportunities all around. The more I relaxed into this approach, I wanted to try and shoot scenes that naturally felt like they would have people within, and frame them like I would any ordinary street scene. I particularly like this cafe scene with the wind blowing through and the great colour of the table and chairs. Working with light in these shots was a lot of fun, using it to highlight a small detail or give a glimpse of an object. I thought it'd be cool to talk about my favourite images from the Shape of the City collection and just really discuss my thought process and experience whilst out shooting. I wanted to start with this image that I took of a local pizza shop. I noticed a few weeks ago that it had these bold yellow shutters and thought it would make for a really interesting frame. I just really like the colour combination here with the blue, green and yellow and the strong geometric shadows. I'm really happy with how this shot turned out. There is this big top tent in the centre of the city at the moment. I had this idea of framing the peaks with the top of this clock tower. I think maybe if I could have got higher up to allow them to be more central in the frame, it would have been a much more successful shot, but it was a fun frame to experiment with nonetheless. This shot of the plant is potentially one of my favourite images from the entire collection. I love the colour and tones within the scene, and the way that the back of the leaves are backlit from the sun through the window. Even though it is somewhat of a chaotic frame, with everything being mismatched, from the table and chairs to the goings on in the background, even down to the teapot plant pot, it still has a feeling of calm that I really enjoy. The last two images I wanted to talk about have a very similar approach to that of the first photograph that inspired this whole collection. The first is this cafe scene, and tonally seeing this space, I just had to find an image here. I fell in love with this sun-kissed interior, where the images had faded to this romantic kind of sky blue colour. I just love the overall feeling this image gives. And the second scene is this restaurant window early in the morning before it opened. It gives me a similar feeling to that of the plant shot I showed earlier. I particularly like the warm terracotta colours, and honestly the sort of grit and worn texture of the windows really add to the overall aesthetic of the image. I would love to know what you thought of the Shape of the City collection, and if you have any favourites, I would love to discuss those with you in the comments. This has been a really interesting project and a style of street photography that I want to continue to practice. Weaving these type of shots into my everyday street sessions, adding just another dimension to my portfolio of work. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the overwhelming support on my last video on the original X100 and to everyone that subscribed. It's been so great to see my hard work paying off, and I've been having so many great conversations with everyone in the comments about street photography and what cameras everyone likes to use. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for the continued support in growing the channel. Thank you.